Hey, everybody, what do you say? It is 2024. Welcome to the Power Profit Strategies podcast. I know I said it wrong. Oh, boy, 2024. I got three things I want to talk about with you on today's podcast. First of all, before I get into those, it's audio. You don't see me. It's okay. It's dark in my trading room today anyway. I want to do an audio podcast. I want to ease you into 2024 with something different. So I'm going to try these audio podcasts for a while and see how they work. The second thing is that I don't want to edit it. Whatever comes out of my mouth is going into the microphone and then going into your ears. So, just kind of a chat between you and I. It's a fireside chat. It's just that there's no fire because I live in Florida. I want to talk about the holiday season for a little bit. I want to talk about 2024 and New Year's resolutions as a trader. Okay? And then, of course, I'm going to end the podcast talking about next week. What is on tap for next week? All right. So, first week of 2024 already over. And as I'm looking at it, I thought we were going to come into today, as it's Friday. I'm recording. It's Friday morning. I was coming into today, and I'm thinking, wow, we might actually have a new record here, a new record with the markets, having those first 5 days of January. I mean, I did a little bit of research, and you got to go back to the 70s before you see the first 5 days of the week. The first week, not first 5 days, first week of January as a down week, and where every day was down, right? Hasn't happened since the 70s. Yes, count them off with me, 80, 90, double-aught. 2010, 2000. It's been over 50 years since that has happened. And as I'm looking at the markets right now, it doesn't look like it's going to happen because everything's up. Everything's up, and I have a well-needed bump in my account. As I was looking at it the last couple of days, I'm like, what's going on here? And I'm looking at, I look at everything. I look at all the stocks that I have and indices and SGov and all this other stuff in my portfolio. And I look at it and I'm like, wow, what's going on with this thing? But you got to realize, and we said this last year, we were looking for the bump in late October, and it didn't happen until, sometime early November. And then we just started running. We went from multi-month lows in the stock market to multi-month lows to year highs. We ended 2023 pretty much at yearly highs. And so we look to the future and we're like, wow, expect some pullback. All right. I did a video earlier this week and you got it. And I was talking about the money calendar for January. I was talking about the seasonality calendar for January, and it is a mixed month. It is going to be a volatile month. If you look at patterns, and there's several of them that are happening this month, you have the January effect. All right. So goes the week, so goes the month. And that is whatever the first week does, the first month should follow. Then you have the January month itself. Whatever happens in January, that would indicate the entire year will be up or down. And then you have Dogs of the Dow. That starts on January 2. And then there's one more that happens every 4 years. And that is the election cycle. And the election cycle is, that's the presidential cycle, where that election year, you should see the markets tend to move higher. There's been very few years that I can recall where election year was a down year. The last one that I can remember right off the top of my head, 2008. 2008 was an election year. It was also the year of the financial crisis. Most of us know that very, very well. Anyway, we've got a year in front of us. I'm going to talk about what my New Year's resolutions are with you, as well as trading resolutions we need to make. And this, this might actually become a This is going to be a broken up podcast, meaning that I'm going to feed you these habits of successful traders over the month of January. So, how was your holiday? How was your holiday? Those of you on the receiving end of the podcast. Mine, I always look forward to the holidays. I'm one of those very sentimental, nostalgic kind of guys that, I grew up in small town suburbia. My father was a civil engineer. Okay. He did a little work on the tunnel in Pittsburgh. He was mostly a surveyor and, was in Pittsburgh. And he started out in the steel industry. My mother's in the steel industry. They got out of the steel industry. At least my mother got out of the steel industry because she had me and a few others like me. But my father got out of the steel industry because he saw the importing of steel happening outside of the States and decided to use his career and move into the governmental area. So he became a surveyor for the state. And what I mean is the state of Pennsylvania became the state of Oklahoma, Texas, Mississippi. I think we skipped Alabama, Georgia. I lived in all those states. I lived in all those states. And I was what we referred to in school as a professional new kid. And a professional new kid is one that went to new school so much that I actually had, kind of a script. So keep from getting beaten up in school. That's how the 70s were, We were a little rough. They were rough in school. They had your friends, your enemies had capital punishment on you. Anyway, I digress. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that a little bit on these podcasts where it's just me and it's just audio. But trust me, I'm coming to you with a message. All right. I don't know what the message is right now. We'll figure it out. I was talking about holidays. How was your holiday and nostalgia? And, so we get this little break between Christmas and New Year's. And typically, we like to go somewhere, do something. We did nothing. Absolutely nothing. I stayed on the property. I don't even think I went out. Last minute presents came to me. Thank you, Amazon. And I'm talking about the ones that I gave. And I was thinking with presents. I was thinking, man, we typically, I count up all the folks that are in our family, and if it's clothing, I got to double down on everybody because I don't know whether they're a medium or a large or whether they're a large or an extra large. I'm guessing. I'm a pretty good guesser, but nevertheless, I don't want to screw something up. So, so for instance, for my nephew, I got him some large shirts and I got him some extra large shirts, and I didn't know what fit him. But where I'm going with this is that, if you take a look at and is it gonna affect Amazon? And sometimes I think yes, and sometimes I think no. But all that stuff that didn't fit everybody is going back. And so I wonder, I can't be the only one that does that. And so I take a look at Amazon and I see what happened. And I mean, Amazon, wasn't January, wasn't the beginning of the year. Although the beginning of the year, Amazon was at 152. And then here we are, and it's Friday, and we're finally getting that pivot. We're getting the Amazon pivot today, but it's pivoting off of 144. We went from, folks, the day before Christmas, Amazon was at 154. The day after Christmas, Amazon was at 144. If there isn't a better pattern than buy the rumor and sell before the news, that's it. I was bullish all the way into the end of the year, but it wasn't on Amazon. It was on a couple of other stocks that we discussed. We discussed in earlier podcasts, earlier videos. But yeah, the nostalgia of the holiday season. this was the longest holiday season I can remember on record because I didn't go anywhere, didn't do anything. I was on my computer. I was talking to some of the group, asking them how they did, what they got. If you don't know, I think I said this before. I ended up. This was one of those every 5-year kind of deals. I cycled in and I bought a vehicle. And back in 2019, I bought the new Ram 1500 pickup truck off of the advice of my brother. Now, my brother, I don't look to him for advice in most areas, but when it comes to automobiles, he knows his stuff. And so he says, you got to get the new Gen 5 Ram. It's got the 12-inch screen. It's got all these features. And he goes, trust me, when you get inside of it, it's going to feel like you're in a luxury vehicle. And I didn't believe him till I checked it out. I'm like, wow. And so, I got the package with all the trim in it, and I was impressed. And more importantly, for me, it's not whether I'm impressed, it's whether my wife is impressed because, she's going to be riding shotgun pretty much everywhere I go. So she has a lot of influence on whatever it is I'm driving. Now, she drives a Tesla. I think a lot of you know that. Or she has a Tesla and I drive the Tesla. I'm the auto drive for the Tesla for my wife. Anyway, so this year I upgraded because I found I loved the 1500, but it had one inherent problem. Anytime I tried to tow something in it, and I don't do that often, but anytime I tried to tow something heavy in it, it was kind of like, I mean, it was like a greyhound looking for dinner. And so I thought I gotta up the towing rate. So I went big time. I went right past the 2,500. I went right to the 3,500. And a lot of people say, why are you getting a 3,500? You don't need a 3,500. How do you know I don't need a 3,500? So anyway, I got a new truck for Christmas. I didn't go anywhere this year. It was like long holiday season. Although, we got the trees. Here it is. It's January 5th. The tree is still up. Frosty's still out front. In fact, I think he fell down last night because of the wind. But I'm going to we take Christmas down here at the Gentile household very slowly. Yeah, we're going to take the outside stuff down, because I don't want the neighbors thinking that it's going to be up all year. But the stuff that's inside, I will bet you, I will lay down money here that it's not coming down till Valentine's Day. I'm telling you, that's what we're doing here. All right. Hey, 2024 is a new year. Happy New Year to all of you out there. When I look at January, I look at habits and we all try to come up with New Year's resolutions. And I was looking at, and I Googled it. And of course, it's not in front of me right now. I'm going to do it right now. Top New Year's resolutions. Here you go. These are the top New Year's resolutions for 2024. Improving one's finances is number one. I don't think I've ever seen that before. All right. That's what we're going to go with, but I want to tell you about the other ones too. Fitness, diet, mental health, and relationships. Now, this is according to Forbes. Forbes did a one-poll survey. Improving fitness was 48%. Improving finances was 38%. Improving mental health was 36%. Losing weight, 34%. Improved diet, 32%. I'm taking one of those, okay? I mean, guys, I'm in the field. You know this. I'm in the field where improving finances is kind of like breathing. It's what I don't need to focus on that. I focus on it every day. I focus on it every day the market's open. Now with cryptocurrency, I focus on it every day. But I picked one of these other ones. And I said, I can't, I've done I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do 3. I'm going to do 10 things. And none of them happen. You know why? Because I overcommit. So I don't stop doing that. Stop doing that. In fact, last year, I think I undercommitted. I didn't do anything. I was like, what's my New Year's resolution? Do the same thing I did last year. And I don't remember what it was. Here's what I'm doing. I am giving up sugar, processed sugar, anything that tastes sweet, for the month of January. That's where I'm going to go. All right, month of January, I'm going to give up sugar. So here it is, January 5th. I'm a few days in. What's the side effect? Well, the side effect is I see all this stuff. You know what? The next podcast I'm going to do is going to be remote. I'm actually going to walk around my house if I have something to say that pertains to something in this house. If I walk past the dining room table, which I have a pretty decent sized dining room table, but it's not big enough to seat 24 people. So you know what my dining room table did? I'm an old home improvement guy. I took a couple sheets of plywood and I put them together and I made a big ass dining room table. That's what I did. And it's still there. It hasn't come down. And my wife kind of likes it. She's like, we should get a dining room table this big. I said, babe, we have a dining room table this big. It's there. You see it? It's a big dining room table. Yeah, but it's not real. So you got to cover it up. How's anybody going to know? And so anyway, on that table sits Rochea chocolates, Godiva chocolates, cookies, cakes. I got cakes from Goldbelly. Thank you, Jay. That were cookies, and the folks that helped me put my that put my website together. They sent me the Italian cookies. The red, the white, and the red, the red, the green, and the black cookies. And man, I gotta tell you, from Thanksgiving to January 1st, I ate sweets like I was going to the chair. And I started getting up in the morning and it was hard to get out of bed. I was stiff, and I don't mean just stiff. I mean, I hurt. And so, I'm thinking, I'm 58 and a half. Is this what the rest of my life's going to feel like to me? And I started thinking, what am I doing different? What am I doing different? I don't feel right. And I hurt. And now the pain in my muscles, what little I have, are going straight to the bone. It doesn't feel muscular anymore. It feels like bone pain. And I started doing a little bit of research during the week, during the holiday week. And I kept coming up on sugar, processed sugar, and all these things that processed sugar. So, I mean, you know what? In a nutshell, I'm cutting out sugar. I'm going to see how long I can do it because I'm passing all this stuff. And I got to tell you guys, I mean, it's like I need to have blinders on because it's everywhere in the house. It's tempting me. The Sour Patch gummies are tempting me. I mean, my God, even the vitamin C gummies that are supposed to be in the good drawer with the supplements, those airborne ones, you know what I'm talking about. And everybody's getting sick around here. And so far, I haven't gotten sick. But the airborne gummies, I started popping one in my mouth, and I noticed all the sugar was on the outside. And I guess the sugar is to help you deal with what the gummy actually tastes like. And I thought, no, I'll just go with orange juice. If I'm going to do a vitamin C gummy, it's going to come in a carton, and I'm going to pour it in a cup and drink it. So anyway, yeah, I know I'm rambling on. Listen, 70% of people break their New Year's resolution inside of 30 days. I thought I'd just go with a 30-day resolution and go from there. So now, what does this got to do with trading? Well, if you look at the trading industry, everybody wants to come into the new year as a new trader, especially those of you that A, lost money last year, or B, did not beat the S&P 500, because that's our benchmark, folks. Our benchmark is, what did the overall markets do? Because if you want to do what the overall markets do, then don't waste your time. Just put all your money in SPY and walk away and go do something else. But if you want to beat the S&P, then that means you got to do something a little bit more than just buy the S&P or buy the S&P times 2. You don't want a margin account this year, folks. I mean, look at the interest rate that's being paid on things like SGLV. Look at the interest rate what's being paid on Robinhood. You don't want to go into a margin account for any length of time, because if you think about this, if Robinhood's paying 5%, imagine what it's costing on the margin side. There's a spread there. All right. So habits. So we got to create some habits for 2024, and we want the habits to last beyond 2024. So the very first thing that I want to ask you as we're in this podcast is, what do I want out of trading? Okay. Well, to me, I want to beat the average. Okay. Because if your answer is I want money, then run away from this business. Run away. This is not a business where you're going to make money like a paycheck. Okay. It comes and goes. Think about this. I mean, you don't have to go back very far. September, October were crap months for people that were bullish, that were looking for a paycheck. You didn't get a paycheck. You were in the soup line of trading in September and October. And then, you know what? If September and October didn't beat you up enough to get on the sidelines, because a lot of people did, a lot of people jumped to the sidelines and said, "Uh-oh, the reality of the 5% interest rate is going to push this market lower. I'm going to get to the sidelines." And maybe you forgot that September, October is seasonally bearish. October, by the way, is usually a turnaround month. It just took a couple weeks longer. And a lot of people saw that, and they jumped to the sidelines, and they watched these markets go from yearly lows to yearly highs. It was one of the biggest turnarounds that I've seen in my career. Right? And I've seen a bunch, but that was a big one. It was definitely the biggest one in the last several years. And so if you jump to the sidelines, then, you didn't have a good 2023. So what are we going to do different? And one of the first things you want to do is you got to ask yourself this question: what do I want out of trading? Money is the icing on the cake. Okay. The problem with money, and you're listening to somebody who can tell you this. I can confirm this. Problem with money is it has an emotional value for practically everyone in the world. Okay. Now, why is this? Do I even need to answer that? I mean, we've been trained our whole lives, folks, as people that, we know that money can buy different things at different times. Here's a quick little story for you. So I told you that I basically hermited up during the holiday season. And my wife, who's the ultimate hermit, says, I want to go out. Okay, where are we going? I don't know. Just get in the car and drive. We get in the car. We go to Walgreens, pick up a couple prescriptions, because that's what I'm doing now as Gen Xer number one. I call myself Gen Xer number one because I was born in 1965, and the baby boomer year, if you look in most websites, in 64. So I'm Gen Xer number one. I know I'm not, but I'm calling myself that. So Gen Xer number one has to go to Walgreens every once in a while. And so where am I going with this story? We're out. So we're out. We're driving around. And, my wife says, you know what? I want a real cup of coffee. I see a Dunkin' Donuts across the street. Can we go get a cup of coffee? Because the stuff coming out of the Keurig machine is tasting weird. And she's right. And in fact, I actually got another Christmas present, and I'm sipping on it now. Oh, that's good. I got an espresso machine, and I didn't get any espresso machine. I mean, we have a Nespresso. But I don't like the Nespresso because, again, it makes a weird foam. Any of you ever had? Do any of you listen to this? Let me know. Do any of you have an Nespresso? I try to say it like Penelope Cruz on the old ads, Nespresso, or George Clooney. Um, so it makes a weird foam on top. Uh, Espresso should not have too much foam. Anyway, I didn't get an espresso. I didn't get the what's the other ones? The other ones, I see them in my mind. I'm a visual. I can visualize things, but sometimes getting it at them from my mind through my mouth takes a bit. A real good one is the Rancilio, the Sylvia. That's what it's called. I had a really big Rancilio 10 years ago. It was so big it was one of those really big espresso machines that you see at the bars and you see at Starbucks. And my wife hated it because it took up all the counter space in our kitchen. So I got rid of that years ago. I mean, I had the whole thing. I had the roaster. I had the grinder, and then I packed them in. And man, I was making mud. I mean, the espresso that I was making was a solid. It wasn't a liquid. And it was good. But I mean, the house smelled like a Starbucks, which isn't bad. But eventually you start to, those smells, you want to smell those smells every once in a while. You don't want to smell them all the time. I remember when I was in high school, I took a job. I'm laughing at myself because, I listen to podcasts. I listen to podcasts at night. And I listen to audiobooks. And the audiobook I continue to listen to is Reminiscence of a Stock Operator. I took a job as a quotation board boy. That's literally the first paragraph coming out of the thing. And no, I took a job working at Pizza Hut. And so I used to love pizza. You want to know how you can break the pizza habit? Go work at Pizza Hut. Go work at a pizza joint, because then you start smelling pizza and sauce all the time. In fact, you start smelling like it. Your clothes start smelling like it. I remember coming home and my mother washing my Pizza Hut uniform. And she used to say, my God, this house the laundry room smells like pizza. And I got to where I hated pizza. And to this day, I cannot get pizza out unless it's at a real pizza joint, because that taste, I mean, I can taste it in the back of my throat right now talking about it. Anyway, I'm going somewhere. I know it. Stick with me. I'm going somewhere. Money can buy different things at different times. That cup of coffee that we got at Dunkin' Donuts, my wife was like, we pull up the drive-thru and say, almond milk latte, hot. You got to say that, because if you don't, they're going to give it to you cold. Here in Florida, they're going to opt to give it to you cold unless you say hot. Anyway, that'll be $5.93. Pull up to the counter and pull up to the window. $5.93. My wife and I looked there. Now this is the look we have. The look that we have is we got to get out more often. A cup of coffee. This was the medium. Was $5.93. And I'm like, it wasn't a cup of coffee. It was a latte. But then when I grabbed it to give it to my wife, it's like it was only half full, because foam was the other half. And I'm like, wow, you got a cup of coffee for almost $6. What's going on in the world? And who's buying this cup of coffee? Listen, money can buy different things at different times. I mean, a loaf of bread is something we buy every week. Cup of coffee is something a lot of people buy on the daily. You look at that $6. If you're buying that every day to work, that's $30. That's $30 a week in coffee. That's $120 a month in coffee. That adds up big, folks. I mean, we're talking $1,400 a year going through the McDonald's, going through Dunkin' Donuts. Imagine Starbucks might even be more expensive. Yeah, you know what? I need to do a podcast strictly on where to find money for trading. For those of you that are new, those of you that last a couple years ago, you got that stimulus check. You want a stimulus check for 2024? My God, just stay out of the Starbucks line, stay out of the Dunkin' Donuts line. You got your stimulus check right there, right there. That's something you cannot not go to the gas station. Your car's going to eventually die, but you can not go to the Starbucks line. I'll get into that later. We're talking about what we want out of trading. The real answer about what we want out of trading is money is like the icing on the cake. I said that. Trading is going to be something that you really, it's going to be one of those jobs that you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. And you're going to hate it if it doesn't work for you. You're going to love it if it does work for you. And that's what you want to strive for. You want to strive to be that diligent trader. You want to strive to be it's like showing up for work and being the best one at whatever it is that you do. And that's what I do. That's what I want to do. Profit's the goal. Profit's the goal in any job. It's just that with most jobs, the profit in most jobs is the paycheck you get every other week or once a month or whenever it is you get paid. But with trading, profit's not a weekly paycheck. I mean, it can be depending on how you set it up, but you should not expect that every week, okay? Because with too much greed and trying to make your trading style submit to a weekly paycheck, it's going to ruin a good trading plan. And so your desire should be a great trader, and your desire should be to overall beat the market, okay? And so what I want to talk about on the next podcast in the time we have together is sacrifices. What kind of sacrifices are you going to need to do to get to your goal as a successful trader? All right. And this is part of habits. If you get something, you got to give something. If you want to be a great trader, you got to make sacrifices. And I'm not just talking about sacrifices of money. All right. Hey, folks, first week of January. What's going on next week? Next week I started looking at, well, you know what? I can tell you right now what's going on next week. The college bowl season, the college football season is coming to an end. And, I'm looking at the Rose Bowl, the Orange Bowl. This has all kind of happened already. Rose Bowl, Orange Bowl, Sugar Bowl. Remember. Here's Gen X #1 talking to you. Remember when they were just called the Rose Bowl, or the Orange Bowl, or the Sugar Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Peach Bowl, Fiesta Bowl? I remember when Fiesta Bowl. I remember they were really the Rose, Orange, Sugar, and Cotton. And then Atlanta came out with the Peach Bowl. And then the Fiesta Bowl came along. But when did they, I'm sitting watching one of the bowl games. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Hey, you're with us live at the VRBO Fiesta Bowl. Hey, welcome to the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl, the Allstate Sugar Bowl, the Capital One Orange Bowl, the Prudential Rose Bowl. When did they all start getting sponsors? And I know they've been around for years, but it finally dawned on me when the AT&T halftime show at the Prudential Rose Bowl game. I mean, the names are getting so long. It's like a hyphenated name now. When did those happen? Anyway, college football's gone as of next week when we find out who's going to be the College Bowl champion. I'm not big on football as much as I used to be. I used to be a long time ago, but I was a Pro Bowl guy. I was the pro. I didn't know much about college games, but I watched the college games like most of us watch football when the playoffs are on or when the Super Bowl's on. And so, I looked and I'm like, what is it? Michigan and I don't know who, but I don't remember. But what I do know is that the guy on the other team, I looked at the spread, and so I think Michigan is like the guys betting, or the Vegas has got Michigan beating the other team by 4 points. I like an underdog. I'm big on underdogs. What's going on next week in the markets? That's where I was really going. Earnings season really starts to kick in next week. All right. And when I look at earnings, you got earnings coming out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. At Friday, you don't see so many earnings, but typically, let me tell you this. The Monday earnings come out after market close, and the Friday earnings typically come out before market open. Everything in the middle of the week is typically, for the most part, after market close. So we're going to dive into earnings next week. And, I see 42 on Monday, 37 on Tuesday, 28 on Wednesday, 29 on Thursday, and 18 on Friday. And that's looking at the Yahoo Finance calendar. And when I go through the calendar, there's a lot of names in here. And so a lot of banks, finances. I think Alcoa, they usher in the aluminum forecast. But I do see a lot of banks in here. I see First Republic. Boy, that's a bank that got hit last year really hard. A lot of the regionals. All right. Silvergate Capital is on here. You get a lot of earnings, and you get the sprinkled in of some of the big names. But the big names don't start until the week after next. We'll talk about some of those big names next week. All right. So I hope you had a good holiday season. Happy New Year to everybody. Think about those New Year's resolutions. To me, if you really are going to go down that road, pick one. Pick one. Pick it and stick it. All right. Don't get a handful of them and then you drop them all. If you're going to go down that, and I'll let you know how my sugar thing goes. I'll take you on sugar watch with me every week until I don't do it anymore, or I break the habit. Who knows when I'm going to break the habit? And of course, we're going to continue next week with habits of successful trading. All right. Thank you all very much. Have a great rest of your weekend. And of course, I'll have a video out again next week. America's #1 pattern trader. That's what they call me. See you next week. Bye, everyone.